Hello and welcome to tonight's story. This story is titled The Last Tonga Ride, and it is from the same book, Collected Short Stories of Ruskin Bond. The stories are based in India, in northern India, in the foothills of the Himalayas, in the rural area, at a time period of about 100, between 100 and 200 years ago. So we start the last Tonga ride. It was a warm spring day in Dehradun, and the walls of the bungalow were aflame with flowering bougainvillea. The papayas were ripening. The scent of sweet peas drifted across the garden. Grandmother sat in an easy chair in a shady corner of the veranda, her knitting needles clicking away, her head nodding now and then. She was knitting a pullover for my father. Delhi has cold winters, she had said, and although the winter was still 8 months away, she had set to work on getting our woolens ready. In the Kathiawar states, touched by the warm waters of the Arabian Sea, it had never been cold. But Dehra lies at the foot of the first range of the Himalayas. Grandmother's hair was white, and her eyes were not very strong, but her fingers moved quickly with the needles, and the needles kept clicking all morning. When grandmother wasn't looking, I picked geranium leaves, crushed them between my fingers, and pressed them to my nose. I had been in Dehra with my grandmother for almost a month, and I had not seen my father during this time. We had never before been separated for so long. He wrote to me every week and sent me books and picture postcards, and I would walk to the end of the road to meet the postman as early as possible to see if there was any mail for us. We heard the jingle of the Tonga bells at the gate, and a familiar horse buggy came rattling up the drive. "I'll see who has come," I said, and ran down the veranda steps and across the garden. It was Bansi Lal in his Tonga. There were many Tongas and Tonga drivers in Dehra, but Bansi was my favorite driver. He was young and handsome, and he always wore a clean white shirt and by pajamas. His pony too was bigger and faster than the other Tonga ponies. Bansi didn't have a passenger, and so I asked him, "What have you come for, Bansi?" "Your grandmother sent for me, Dost." He did not call me Chota Sahib or Baba, but Dost, and it means friend. And this made me feel much more important. Not every small boy could boast of a Tonga driver for his friend. "Where are you going, Granny?" I asked after I had run back to the veranda. "I'm going to the bank," she said. "Can I come too?" "Whatever for? What will you do in the bank?" she asked. "Oh, I won't come inside. I'll sit in the Tonga with Bansi." "Come along then," she said. We helped grandmother into the back seat of the Tonga, and then I joined Bansi in the driver's seat. He said something to his pony, and the pony set off at a brisk trot out of the gate and down the road. "Now, not too fast, Bansi," said grandmother, who didn't like anything that went too fast. Tonga, motor, car, train, or bullock cart, anything. Nothing. "Fast?" said Bansi. "Have no fear, Mem Sahib, this pony has never gone fast in his life. Even if a bomb went off behind us, we could go no faster. I have another pony which I use for racing, when customers are in a hurry. This pony is reserved for you, Mem Sahib. There was no other pony, but grandmother did not know this and was mollified by the assurance that she was riding in the slowest Tonga in Dera. A 10-minute ride brought us to the bazaar. Grandmother's bank, the Allahabad Bank, stood near the clock tower. She was gone for about half an hour, and during this period, Bansi and I sauntered about in front of the shops. The pony had been left with some green stuff to munch. Do you have any money on you? Asked Bansi. 4 annas, I said. Just enough for 2 cups of tea, said Bansi, putting his arm round my shoulders and guiding me towards a tea stall. The money passed from my palm into his. You can have tea if you like, I said. I'll have a lemonade. So be it, friend. A tea and a lemonade, and be quick about it, said Bansi to the boy in the tea shop, and presently the drinks were set before us, and Bansi was making a sound rather like his pony when it drank, while I burped my way through some green gaseous stuff that tasted more like soap than lemonade. So, when grandmother came out of the bank, she looked pensive and did not talk much during the ride back to the home, except to tell me to behave myself when I leant over to pat the pony on its rump. After paying off Bansi, she marched straight indoors. When will you come again? I asked Bansi. When my services are required, dost, I have to make a living, you know. But I tell you what, since we are friends, the next time I'm passing this way, after leaving a fair, I'll jingle my bells at the gate. And if you are free and would like a fast ride, you can join me. It won't cost you anything. Just bring some money for a cup of tea. All right, since we are friends, I said. Since we are friends, he said, and touching the pony very lightly with the handle of the whip, he sent the Tonga rattling up the drive and out of the gate. I could hear Bansi singing as the pony cantered down the road. Aya was waiting for me in the bedroom, her hands resting on her broad hips, a sure sign of an approaching storm. So you went off to the bazaar without telling me? She said. It wasn't enough that I had grandmother's permission, so I still had to get hers, Aya's. And all this time I've been waiting to give you your bath. Oh, it's too late now, isn't it? I said hopefully. No, it isn't. There is still an hour left for lunch. Off with your clothes. While I undressed, Aya berated me for keeping the company of Tonga drivers like Bansi. I think she was a little jealous. He's a rogue, that man. He drinks, gambles, and smokes opium. He has TB and other terrible diseases. So don't you be too friendly with him, understand, Baba? I nodded my head, said sagely, and said nothing. I thought Aya was exaggerating, as she always did, about people, and besides, I had no intention of giving up the free Tonga rides. As my father had told me, Dera was a good place for trees, and grandmother's house was surrounded by several kinds. On Tuesday after, people neem, mango, jackfruits, papaya, and an ancient banyan tree. Some of the trees had been planted by my father and grandfather. How old is the jackfruit tree? I asked grandmother. Now let me see, said grandmother, looking very thoughtful. I should remember the jackfruit tree. Oh yes, your grandfather put it down in 1927. It was during the rainy season. I remember because it was your father's birthday and we celebrated it by planting a tree, 14th July 1927, long before you were born. The banyan tree grew behind the house, its spreading branches, which hung to the ground and took root again, formed a number of twisting passageways in which I liked to wander. The tree was older than the house, older than my grandparents, as old as they are. I could hide myself in its branches behind thick green leaves and spy on the world below. It was an enormous tree, about 60 feet high, and the first time I saw it, I trembled with excitement because I had never seen such a marvelous tree before. I approached it slowly, even cautiously, and as I wasn't sure the tree wanted my friendship, it looked as though it had many secrets. There were sounds and movements in the branches, but I couldn't see who or what made the sounds. The tree made the first move, the first overture of friendship. It allowed a leaf to fall. The leaf brushed against my face as it floated down. But before it could reach the ground, I caught it and held it. I studied the leaf, running my fingers over its smooth, glossy texture. Then I put out my hand and touched the rough bark of the tree, and this felt good for me. So I removed my shoes and socks as people do when they enter a holy place, and finding first a foothold and then a handhold on that broad trunk, I pulled myself up with the help of the tree's aerial roots. As I climbed, it seemed as though someone was helping me. Invisible hands, the hands of the spirit in the tree, touched me and helped me to climb. But although the tree wanted me, there were others who were disturbed and alarmed by my arrival. A pair of parrots suddenly shot out of a hole in the trunk and, with shrill cries, flew across the garden, flashes of green and red and gold. A squirrel looked out from behind a branch, saw me, and went scurrying away to inform his friends and relatives. I climbed higher, looked up, and saw a red beak poised above my head. I shrank away, but the hornbill made no attempt to attack me. He was relaxing in his home, which was a great hole in the tree trunk. Only the bird's head and great beak were showing. He looked at me in rather a bored way, drowsily opening and shutting his eyes. So many creatures live here, I said to myself. I hope none of them is dangerous. At that moment, the hornbill lunged at a passing cricket. Bill and tree trunk met with a loud, resonant trunk. I was so startled that I nearly fell off the tree. But it was a difficult tree to fall out of. It was full of places where one could sit or even lie down. So I moved away from the hornbill, crawled along a branch which had sent out supports, and so moved quite a distance from the main body of the tree. I left its cold, dark depths for an area penetrated by shafts of sunlight. No one could see me. I lay flat on the broad branch hidden by a screen of leaves. People passed by on the road below. A sahib in a sun helmet, his mem sahib twirling a colored silk sun umbrella. Obviously, she did not want to get too brown and be mistaken for a country-born person. Behind them, a pram wheeled along by a nanny. Then there were a number of Indians, some in white dhotis, some in western clothes, some in loin cloths, some with baskets on their heads. Others were coolies to carry their baskets for them. A cloud of dust, the blare of a horn, And down the road, like an out of condition dragon, came the latest Morris touring car. Then cyclists. Then a man with a basket of papayas balanced on his head. Following him, a man with a performing monkey. This man rattled a little hand drum, and children followed man and monkey along the road. They stopped in the shade of a mango tree on the other side of the road. The little red monkey wore a frilled dress and a baby's bonnet. It danced for the children while the man sang and played his drum. The clip clop of a Tonga pony and Munsey's Tonga came rattling down the road. I looked up into the branches of the banyan tree. Oh, he looked up and he asked, "What are you doing up there?" he cried. "Hiding from grandmother," I said. "And when are you coming for that ride?" "Oh, on Tuesday afternoon," I said. "Why not today?" he asked. "Aya won't let me, but she has Tuesdays off." Bansi spat red pan juice across the road. "Your Aya is jealous," he said. "I know," I said. "Women are always jealous, aren't they? I suppose it's because she doesn't have a Tonga." "It's because she doesn't have a Tonga driver," said Bansi, grinning up at me. "Never mind, I'll come on Tuesday. That's the day after tomorrow, isn't it?" I nodded down to him and then started backing along my branch because I could hear Aya calling in the distance. Bansi leaned forward and smacked his pony across the rump, and the Tonga shot forward. "What were you doing up there?" asked Aya a little later. "I was watching a snake cross the road," I said. I knew she couldn't resist talking about snakes. There weren't as many in Dehra as there had been in Kathiawar, and she was thrilled that I had seen one. "Was it moving towards you or away from you?" she asked. "It was going away," I said. Aya's face clouded over. "That means poverty for the beholder," she said gloomily. Later, while scrubbing me down in the bathroom, she began to air all her prejudices, which included drunkards. They die quickly anyway. Misers, they get murdered and sooner or later. And Tonga drivers, they have all the vices. "You are a very lucky boy," she said suddenly, peering closely at my tummy. "Why?" I asked. "You just said I would be poor because I saw a snake going the wrong way." "Well, you won't be poor for long. You have a mole on your tummy. And that's very lucky. And there is one under your armpits, which means you will be famous. Do you have one on your neck?" "No, thank God. A mole on the neck is a sign of a murderer." "Do you have any moles?" I asked. Aya nodded seriously and pulling up her sleeve up to her shoulder, showed me a large mole high on her arm. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means a life of great sadness," said Aya gloomily. "Can I touch it?" I asked. "Yes, touch it," she said, and taking my hat, she placed it against the mole. "It was a nice mole," I said. "It's a nice mole," I said, wanting to make Aya happy. "Can I kiss it?" "Yes, you can kiss it," said Aya. I kissed her on the mole. "That's nice," she said. Tuesday afternoon came at last, and as soon as grandmother was asleep and Aya had gone to the bazaar, I was at the gate looking up and down the road for Bansi and his Tonga. He was not long in coming. Before the Tonga turned into the road, I could hear his voice singing to the accompaniment of the carriage bells. He reached down, took my hand, and hoisted me onto the seat beside him. Then we went off down the road at a steady jog trot. It was only when we reached the outskirts of the town that Bansi encouraged his pony to greater efforts. He rose in his seat, leaned forward, and slapped the pony across the haunches. From a brisk trot, we changed to a carefree canter. The Tonga swayed from side to side. I clung to Bansi's free arm while he grinned at me, his mouth red with pan juice. Where shall we go, those? He asked. Nowhere, I said, anywhere. We'll go to the river, said Bansi. The river was really a swift mountain stream that ran through the forest outside Dera, joining the Ganga about 15 miles away. It was almost dry during the winter and early summer, in flood during the monsoon. The road out of Dera was a gentle decline, and soon we were rushing headlong through the tea gardens and eucalyptus forests, the pony's hoofs striking sparks off the metal road. The uh, carriage wheels groaning and creaking so loudly that I feared one of them would come off and that we would all be thrown into a ditch or onto the small canal on the side on that ran beside the road. We swept through mango groves, through guava and lychee orchards, past broad-leaved sal and shisham trees. Once in the sal forest, Bansi turned the Tonga onto a rough cart track, and we continued along it for about a furlong until the road dipped down to the stream bed. Let us go straight into the water, said Bansi. You and I and the pony. And he drove the Tonga straight into the middle of the stream, where the water came up to the pony's knees. That's fun. The paper is so thin. I'm not a great one for baths, said Bansi. But the pony needs one, and why should a horse smell sweeter than its owner? Saying which, he flung off his clothes and jumped into the water. Better than bathing under the tap, he cried, slapping himself on the chest and thighs. Come down, those, and join me. After some hesitation, I joined him, but had some difficulty in keeping on my feet in the fast current. I grabbed at the pony's tail and hung on to it, while Bansi began sloshing water over the patient animal's back. After this, Bansi led both me and the pony out of the stream, and together we gave the carriage a good washing down. I had had a free ride, and Bansi got the services of a free helper for the long overdue spring cleaning of his Tonga. After we had finished the job, he presented me with a packet of papar, a sticky toffee made from mango pulp. And for some time I tore at it as a dog tears at a bit of old leather. Then I felt drowsy and lay down on the brown, sun-warmed grass. Crickets and grasshoppers were telephoning each other from tree trunk and bush, and a pair of blue jays rolled, dived, and swooped acrobatically overhead. Bansi had no watch. He looked at the sun and said, "It is past 3. When will that ayah of yours be home? She is more frightening than your grandmother." "She comes at 4, I said. "Then we must hurry back, and don't tell her where we had been, or I'll never be able to come to your house again. Your grandmother is one of my best customers." "That means you'd be sorry if she died?" "I would indeed, my friend," he said. Bansi raced the Tonga back to town. There was very little motor traffic in those days, and Tongas and bullock carts were far more numerous than they are today. We were back 5 minutes before Aya returned. Before Bansi left, he promised to take me for another ride the following week. The house in Dera had to be sold. My father had not left any money. He had never realized that his health would deteriorate so rapidly from the malarial fevers which had grown in frequency. He was still planning for the future when he died. Now that my father was gone, grandmother saw no point in staying on in India. There was nothing left in the bank, and she needed money for our passages to England. So the house had to go. Dr. Ghosh, who had a thriving medical practice at Dera, made a reasonable offer which she accepted. Then things happened very quickly. Grandmother sold most of our belongings because, as she said, we wouldn't be able to cope with a lot of luggage. The kabadis came in droves, hurrying up crockery, came in droves, buying up crockery, furniture, carpets, and clocks at throwaway prices. Grandmother hated parting with some of her possessions, such as the carved giltwood mirror, her walnut wood armchair, and her rosewood writing desk. But it was impossible to take them with us. They were carried away in a bullock cart. Aya was very unhappy at first, but cheered up when grandmother got her a job with a tea planter's family in Assam. It was arranged that she could stay with us until we left Dera. We went at the end of September, just as the monsoon clouds broke up, scattered, and were driven away by the soft breezes from the Himalayas. There was no time to revisit the island where my father and I had planted our trees. And in the urgency and excitement of the preparations for our departure, I forgot to recover my small treasures from the hole in the banyan tree. It was only when we were in Bansi's Tonga on the way to the station that I remembered my top, my catapult, the Iron Cross, all too late. To go back for them would mean missing the train. Hurry, urged grandmother nervously. We mustn't be late for the train, Bansi. Bansi flicked the reins and shouted to his pony, and for once in her life, grandmother submitted to being carried along the road at a brisk trot. It's 5 to 9, she said, and the train leaves at 9. Do not worry, Mem Sahib. I've been taking you to the station for 15 years, and you have never missed a train. No, said grandmother, and I don't suppose you will ever take me to the station again, Bansi. Times are changing, Mem Sahib. Do you know that there is now a taxi, a motor car, competing with the Tonga of Dera? You are lucky to be leaving. If you stay, you will see me starve to death. Oh, we will all starve to death if we don't catch the train, said grandmother. Do not worry about the train. It never leaves on time, and no one expects it to. If it left at 9 o'clock, everyone would miss it. That's a joke. Bansi was right. We arrived at the station at 5 minutes past 9 and rushed onto the platform only to find that the train had not yet arrived. The platform was crowded with people waiting to catch the same train or to meet people arriving on it. Aya was there already, standing guard over a pile of miscellaneous luggage. We sat down on our boxes and became part of the platform life at an Indian railway station. Moving among the piles of bedding and luggage were sweating, cursing coolies, vendors of magazines, sweetmeats, tea, and betel leaf preparations, also stray dogs, stray people, and sometimes a stray station master. The cries of the vendors mixed with the general clamor of the station and the shunting of a steam engine in the yards. Tea, hot tea, sweets, papads, hot stuff, cold drinks, tooth powder, pictures, pictures of film stars, bananas, balloons, wooden toys, clay images of the gods. The platform had become a bazaar. Aya was giving me all sorts of warnings. Remember, Baba, don't lean out of the window when the train is moving. There was that American boy who lost his head last year. And don't eat rubbish at every station between here and Bombay. And see that no stranger enters your compartment. Mr. Wilkins was murdered and robbed last year. Do you know? The station bell clanged, and in the distance there appeared a big puffing steam engine, painted green and gold and black. A stray dog with a lifetime's experience of trains darted away across the railway lines. As the train came alongside the platform, doors opened, windows shutters fell, faces appeared in the openings, and even before the train had come to a stop, people were trying to get in or out. For a few moments, there was chaos. The crowd surged backward and forward. No one could get out. No one could get in. 100 people were leaving the train. 200 were getting into it. No one wanted to give way. The problem was solved by a man climbing out of a window. Others followed his example, and the pressure at the doors ceased or eased, and people started squeezing into their compartments. Grandmother had taken the precaution of reserving berths in a first class compartment, and assisted by Bansi and half a dozen coolies, we were soon inside with all our luggage. A whistle blasted and we were off. Bansi had to jump from the running board of the train onto the platform. As the engine gathered speed, I ignored Aya's advice and put my head out of the window to look back at the receding platform. Aya and Bansi were standing in the platform waving to me, and I kept waving to them until the train rushed into the darkness and the bright lights of Dera were swallowed up in the night. New lights, dim and flickering, came into existence as we passed small villages. The stars too were visible, and I saw a shooting star streaking through the sky, through the heavens. I remembered something that Aya had once told me, that stars are the spirits of good men, and I wondered if that shooting star was a sign from my father that he was aware of our departure and would be with us on our journey. And I remembered something else that Aya had said, that if one wished on a shooting star, one's wish would be granted, provided, of course, that one thrust all 5 fingers into the mouth at the same time. What on earth are you doing? Asked grandmother, staring at me as I thrust my hand into my mouth. Making a wish, I said. Oh, said grandmother. She was preoccupied and didn't ask me what I was wishing for. Nor did I tell her. That's a nice story. I hope you liked it. Bye bye. Next time, another story.